So, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Front Face Lock podcast. I'm your host Ryan, and with me, as always, is the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Vinny.
What's going on, guys?
Today, we are joined by the one and only Chaz Warrington, aka Mosh from the Headbangers, aka Beaver Cleavage. We're going to ask you about that.
And don't forget Sister Angelica.
Yes,
that's another question I got too.
Don't worry.
Out. And you're another New Jersey boy.
Yeah, from South Jersey.
Yeah, I'm in Ocean County. Vinny's soon to be Ocean County.
Okay.
Yeah, we were originally from Bergen County. Yeah, so you're from Cherry Hill.
Yeah, from Camden County. Well, I say Cherry Hill because when you mention Cherry Hill, everyone seems to know where it is. I actually grew up in Stratford, and then my house was in Berlin before I moved down here. So just right outside Philly. Right in Camden. I'm a Camden County boy.
Nice. I usually just say I grew up in East Rutherford since nobody knows that Carlstadt is a thing.
Right.
So, or the Meadowlands, just say the Meadowlands,
Right, exactly.
So what a career you've had, former WWE, NWA, WWA, and various other promotions. You were a tag team champion with Glenn Ruth. First question I got to ask, though, I know you trained with Glenn. You got your start in the early 90s. What got you into it? That's a basic question everybody's probably going to ask.
Kind of one of those things. I kind of just fell into it. Was a fan growing up, obviously, like most people who get into it. There was a school. It was called the Route 30 Mart in Clementon, New Jersey, and it was a big flea mart. And on some Saturday nights, there'd be a big truck out front, spray painted on the side, would say Pro Wrestling Tonight. So one Saturday night, I happened to go in and just check it out. And I didn't know what to expect, but what I saw, was not what I expected. Because all I used to do is I used to take the Lindenwald speed line over to Philly to the subway, and I'd go down to the Spectrum to watch every month when they were there. So, I was expecting, I guess, a little bit more because that's all I knew was, WWF. So, but it was a little hokey, but it was fun. And afterwards, I hung around and was talking to their heavyweight champ, who was the Spider. And turns out, that obviously that's Glenn. So our high schools wrestled each other. So we kind of knew of one another through high school wrestling. So him and I just started chatting after the show, and he was like, "Oh, you should come down and try out." And I'm like, "Nah." I'm like, "Yeah." At this point, I was still wrestling, dabbling a little bit in college with wrestling. So I was maybe 185 pounds. And he said, "No." He goes, "Now's the best time." I said, "I'd have to put weight on and come back." And he's like, "No, now would be the best time to learn as you put weight on. It's easier to learn how to do everything as you put weight on instead of all of a sudden you're coming here, 30, 40 pounds heavier. It's harder that way." So I was like, what the hell? Let me try it out. So Larry was holding tryouts. There was 6 of us at the tryout, which happened to be in front of his daughter's class. Her daughter had a school trip class trip to the Monster Factory, which was amazing in itself that the school let you go there for that. But they only took 2 of us. Larry took myself and someone else, and which I kind of thought was cool because it was one of those things where you think that my son's leaving to go to soccer. So, it was one of those things where you think, they would just take whoever, but Larry didn't run his school that way at all because his thing was if you sucked, he didn't want you going out and tell everyone you trained at the Monster Factory. So they accepted me, and I was like, what the hell? Let me try it. So I went to my credit union, took out a $3,000 loan, and figured at that point, I still had no idea what I was doing. I was going to school, but had no idea for what. I was just taking classes just because that's what you're supposed to do after high school. You're supposed to go to college. So that's what I did, and kind of just fell into it. And then from there, it kind of just took off. So it was just I guess, a lot of, I look at my career, a lot of it as being, I think it was just meant to be the way things just kind of fell into place for us.
And how long from when you graduated the school and were picked did you get the call? I know you were they call it enhancement talent. In like the early 90s, you were enhancement talent for WWE. How long from when you graduated till that point?
Never graduated. Literally, it was 3 weeks.
Wow.
I was training for 3 weeks, and they were taping in the area. And Glenn came to me and he said, "Hey," he goes, "can you get off work on Monday and Tuesday?" And I'm like, I guess. I said, why? He goes, well, WWF's in town and they're taping Superstars and Wrestling Challenge. He goes, and when they're in the area, they use Larry's guys. He goes, you're one of Larry's guys. He goes, so we're going to go. And I was like, there's no way I can do that. I said, I've been training 3 weeks. I barely know how to bump. He's like, they're not going to use you. Don't worry about it. He goes, you're going to get paid. They'll see your face. The next time in their area, maybe they'll use you. So I'm like, all right, great. Up to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania we go. And I'm sitting in the locker room and shitting my pants that here I am. And there's the Steiner brothers. Scott Steiner's walking around naked. You know, there's Sonny, there's, you know, there's Bret Hart, there's Shawn Michaels, there's, you know, all these guys. And I was just like, whoa. And then they roll out the big board, the big whiteboard. There's the rundown of matches. And there it was, Adam Bomb versus Chaz Ware. And I looked at Glenn, I go, I thought they weren't going to use me. He goes, well, they are now. So, yeah. So literally 3 weeks into training at the Monster Factory, I was in a WWF ring. It was amazing. Against
a huge guy like Adam Bomb.
Yeah.
Adam Bomb. And here I was, I don't know, 6 foot. I mean, I wasn't even fully grown yet. I was still 6 foot, buck 80, maybe 190 tops. Oh, wow. So, yeah, it was awesome. It was, I got in that ring and I was just looking around all the people going, holy shit. Like, I can't believe where I am right now and what I'm about to do. It was amazing.
When you first get in the ring like that, I mean, obviously you got to have some sort of butterflies or, you know, what point in the match did it wear off and you're like, okay, I can do this. This is what I want to do. Or was it just the whole time you're just like shitting your pants?
Yeah, I was shitting my pants the whole time. There was no butterflies, never went away. I mean, I still get butterflies now. We do indie shows all the time and I still get butterflies. I still get excited. I still get out there and people ask me, you know, you go up to the ring, you guys are always laughing and all this. And I go, that's just me smiling still to this day, however many years later, still going, holy shit, I can't believe that I'm doing this. But yeah, the butterflies never went away. There's times in that match where I'm covering my mouth because I legit think I want to start laughing out loud when Adam Bomb's kicking the shit out of me. I get thrown onto the floor and Johnny Polo's in my face. Raven's yelling at me on the floor. He's calling me a bum. It's taken all I have not to laugh at that. And then Adam Bomb picks me up, short arm clotheslines me on the floor. I land crooked, get the wind knocked out of me, and still just laying there going, this is awesome.
So it was like an immediate, like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do.
So I had that match. And then the other part of the story is my favorite wrestler of all time was Macho Man. Like I'm sure millions of other people. And he was still up there. He was doing commentary. And I was standing in the hallway and he's walking down the hall. And Glenn had known that he was my favorite. So I hear him walking down the hall in that raspy voice he's got. And I'm just like, oh shit, here he comes. Like I'm actually going to see him close. I mean, here I am. I'm a kid who would go over to the Spectrum in Philly. And the one time I had ringside seats, I mean, front row seats, it was him versus Honky Tonk Man in a cage match. And I was ecstatic that I'm going to be sitting front row. Elizabeth's going to be right in front of me. Like, this is the greatest night ever for me. And my best friend who went with me got us kicked out because he was shooting Gorilla Monsoon with spitball. So I never got to see the main event. I never got to see the cage match.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. So Macho Man's walking down the hall that night and he gets 3 feet away from me. And he kind of looks over and like nods his head. And Glenn pushes me into him and I almost knock him over.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So we get past that. So later that night, I'm getting ready to go out and I'm pacing. And he comes up to me and he's like, first time here? And I'm like, yes, sir. And he's like, he goes, you'll be fine. He goes, it's not that bad. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I have nothing going on right now. I'm going to stay right here and I'm going to watch. And I was like, no, it's okay. You don't do that. Don't do me any favors. It's all good. He's like, no. He's like, I'm going to watch. So I'm like, okay. So I go out, I do my thing and I come back. He's standing right there where he was, right next to the monitor. He put his arm around me, starts walking down the hall and he goes, kid, he goes, that was amazing. He goes, you're going to make money in this business one day. He slaps me in the back of the head and walked off.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that was awesome. And then the next night they were down in, the Wickham-Ico Center in Salisbury, Maryland. And that's the place where I actually had my very last amateur match I did an AAU tournament there. And again, they roll out the board, and there it is, Chaz Ware versus Papa Shango.
Wow.
But yeah, after that first night, I was out and we stopped to get gas driving down to Maryland, and that's what I said. I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do.
That's awesome.
That night, right then and there, I was like, this is it. Somehow, some way, I got to make this work.
Yeah, I mean, you got the blessing from the king, Macho Man. They can't get any better than that.
No. So it was amazing.
So how did I know you were hooked up with Glenn as far as like the wrestling school? How did you guys hook up as a tag team and become the Spiders? And then I know you did one match with Aldo Montoya and someone else as the Headbangers, but then for some reason they call you the Flying Nuns.
Yeah. So Glenn was the trainer at the school, so he trained me. During the training, so I started in June of '93. Somewhere in August, he hurt his back, so he wasn't coming around as much. And then he finally came back in, it was September, because his back was still hurt. So what happened is that's when I had my first like real match down at the school. But meanwhile, 6 times before that, I'd already been on national TV doing enhancement matches with WWF, which was amazing. So I had my first like real match, but Glenn was hurt, so he couldn't wrestle, and he was the heavyweight champ. So we were so similar in size and build and everything that they had me go out dressed as him as the heavyweight champ. I had so he wrestled as a Spider. I had his mask on. I had his jacket on. The only difference was I didn't have the tattoo, and I just wasn't as big as he was back then. So, but I never had to take the jacket off. So he was wrestling Boy Gone Bad. Boy Gone Bad comes in the ring, smacks me with the chair. I lay down. He pins me 1, 2, 3. He's a new heavyweight champ. They put me in a stretcher and cart me off as the Spider. So I had a couple more matches, and then Glenn's back started feeling better. He came back around, and then at that point, when he came back, probably in, I'll say the end of October-ish of '93, he came up with the idea. He's like, look, we look alike. We're similar. Glenn and I just right off the bat hit it off. We got along really well. We just hit it off. I mean, first couple weeks on to Monster Factory, he just had his oldest daughter, Paige. She was just born. So, I mean, I was hanging out at the house all the time. Like we just clicked. So it was his idea. He's like, hey, he goes, why don't we? He goes, I've been wrestling for, a couple of years, never really got far. He goes, always interested in, trying to start a tag team. He's like, why don't we tag? He goes, we'll get outfits made. You can be, I'll be the Spider. You can be Spider 2. We'll come up with some kind of name or whatever it is. And that's how it started. And so we did a couple matches for Larry. We won Larry's tag belts, those WWA belts. And then through Glenn of being around for a while, he knew Cornette, he knew Lawler. And we were doing a show with Lawler in Jersey for Carluzzo. And Glenn and Lawler, we all started talking. And he was like, yeah, you guys should come down to Memphis. So I started in June of '93. April of '94, we were packing up the car and moving to Memphis to go wrestle for Jerry Lawler in USWA. So less than a year, here I am packing up the car, and I'm going to a territory.
Nice.
Yeah. So, so that's how that started. And then, like you said, we finally got signed with WWF. And, then they came to us and they said, hey, we need you at this place in New York. I don't know, at 10 o'clock on this Friday. So Glenn and I are like, okay. So we show up and it's like a design studio. It's like a seamstress's place. And we're like, what the hell's going on? They're like, well, we're fitting you for outfits. We're like, outfits? We wear skirts and heavy metal t-shirts. What kind of outfits do we need? And they're like, no. They're like, nobody told you? Bruce Pritchard was there. And we're like, no. He's like, yeah. He goes, you guys are going to be the Flying Nuns, the Sisters of Love. He said, and me as Brother Love, I'm going to be your manager. And we were like, so what's up with the Headbanger thing? And Bruce goes, don't worry about it. Just go with it. And we're like, okay. And I'm like, we're here. Who cares what we do? And if we're going to be with Brother Love, then okay. So that's how we found out. And that's how the Sisters of Love were formed. Just one of those things. So afterwards, and then we were going to prolong it a couple more weeks. The whole idea we found out after the fact was going to be that here come 2 guys in wearing skirts and makeup and, doing all this crazy stuff. And now they're showing up as nuns. Like the whole idea was we were so crazy, we would do anything, we would wear anything. It didn't really matter. That's kind of the storyline they were going to start building. And I really think Vince kind of was hoping that the flying nun thing would take off, because as we all know, Vince likes making people. He doesn't like people coming in with their own characters and gimmicks.
Yes.
But right around then, there was some other stuff going on, and they ended up just the Sisters of Love got arrested staring at little kids inside a Disney store in New York.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. I think I missed that whole storyline.
Yeah, they did it on Shotgun Saturday Night. On the afternoon, they had us staring in the Disney store, and they had cops come over and arrest us, and they were never to be seen again. So we had one match, and we're undefeated. Kind of like Beaver cleavage, one match and undefeated.
I'm not really surprised by any of these storylines that Vince comes up with. And like you said, you know, you were saying that he wants to make the product. We were actually talking about it with Justin Credible and Gary Michael Capetta a couple of shows ago, saying that, asking them pretty much the reason with NXT and people coming from other promotions, it's like he has a vendetta that he tries to bury them, instead of, you know, if Vince McMahon didn't make it, you know, I'm going to bring you in, I'm going to, you know, squash you. I don't know if that,
right.
If you feel like that's.
Yeah, I don't know if I felt like we were getting, see, we got signed, our first deal was a part-time deal. What they were doing is they brought in guys, they gave them gimmicks. They had Freddie Joe Floyd, you had TL Hopper, you had the Goon. They brought these guys in, and the idea was to build them up. They were part-time, to build them up to a certain level, to make it look like the matches were going to be competitive, to get the superstars over with, to get the top guys over. That was the whole idea. So that's the contracts we were signed to. We were brought in to just put everyone over, but we knew that coming in. Again, but we didn't care. It was like, here's our foot in the door, and it's our time to shine and, you know, get ourselves over. And that's what we did. I don't think Vince brought us in and expected us to get over, because it was actually Cornette who went to Vince and said, hey, I got these two guys. They got this really weird gimmick, blah, blah, blah. Vince obviously knew who we were from us doing all the enhancement jobs, all the enhancement matches. So Vince was like, just put them under that part-time contract. We'll use them to help to get the other guys over, and it'll be perfect. And out of all those part-time guys, we were the only two that were signed full-time after that. But yeah, so I think that was the whole thing with that, is giving everyone a gimmick. But I don't know if we felt buried, but we knew coming in that was kind of our role. Mm-hmm. And I think we got over so much and so well, so fast, that they could keep having us lose. They could keep burying us, and we kept getting the reactions out of everybody. You know, we ended up getting ourselves, not to sound like a snob or a diva, we got ourselves over so much by just being us and being the goofballs that we are, that no matter what they did to us, it didn't matter. It was kind of like Zack Ryder for a while. Zack got himself over so much, no matter what they did to him, he was over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ryan, another one.
I mean, I don't know. I could speak for Ryan. You know, you guys came out. We were, you know, teenagers. We were heavy metal guys. So you guys kind of resonated with us because there was nothing like that in the wrestling world. And we're like, oh shit, that's fucking awesome. You know, we got these heavy metal guys. You know, Mosh, Thrasher, you're dancing in the ring. You know, slam dance in the ring, all that. And also, just want to say real quick, your finishing move, the stage dive, is one of the coolest tag team finishing moves I've seen. And I really haven't seen anyone do that again.
Yeah, no, that was it was awesome. And I spoke to someone, I can't remember. I was at a show or a convention a couple weeks ago, or last month, and somebody brought it up. They did a whole article on like the top finishers in the history of wrestling, and he actually ranked our finisher second.
Wow.
I don't remember who we had first, but he said his editor took it and switched it all around and made us 10th. Why are you writing an article if your editor is just going to change all you? It sounds like you need a new job. Yeah, the timing that goes into that is ridiculous. And actually, Glenn came up with that with a dream. He woke up in the middle of the night and he thought, powerbomb, leg drop. I don't know. He had a pad next to his bed. He wrote it down and came into the school, and it took us about a month to really get it down, to figure it out. And poor D'Lo, he was down at the Monster Factory day, and he's the one that actually helped us get it to where it got, because he took that thing over and over and over again. I can't tell you how many times he was sat on, how many times he was kicked in the side of the head. And it started with me trying to do a power bomb and like Glenn doing a running leg drop to land all at the same time. We're like, no, that's cheesy. And then it was me on the second rope trying to do a leg drop. But again, I was still fresh and new. So me coming off the ropes at all was ridiculous and stupid and silly. So then Glenn did it off the middle rope and it was like, it just doesn't look big. So I was like, go to the top rope. And that's kind of where we came up with it.
That's pretty cool.
What now you kind of explained it a little bit, but like what did the like you guys, Vinny said it, you guys came out, you know, in band t-shirts. Some of the shirts I had. So as a teenager, seeing you guys come out with like the Marilyn Manson shirt, the one that's right behind you that Glenn's wearing, I had that shirt. So that was actually awesome for me. I gotta ask about the kilts though. Where did the kilts come about?
They're not kilts, they're skirts.
Okay.
Real men wear skirts.
I've actually had that conversation because in high school I wore a skirt once to school, probably because of you guys, and I got a lot of flack about it.
I can't tell you how many people say to me now, like, you guys wear kilts. I'm like, no, they're not kilts. I'm like, Roddy Piper wore kilts. We wear skirts. There's a big difference. Like, and they're like, you're proud of the fact that it's a skirt? I go, damn right I am. It's like, I have a t-shirt that says it. So yes. So what happened is Cornette's the one who came up with the idea of the Headbangers. We were wrestling as the Spiders all over Tennessee and Arkansas, and Cornette wanted to bring us in. So he called us up and he goes, hey, I want to bring you guys into Smoky Mountain. He said, but I don't like the masks. I don't like the spider thing. And we said, we don't really care. We just want to come to Smoky Mountain and work with you guys. So he said, I was at, and this is going to make you laugh, he was at a Glenn Danzig concert. And he said, he goes, these guys were crazy. They're diving off the stage on each other. He goes, they're hitting each other. They're spitting on each other. He goes, they're wearing makeup. They're wearing dresses and skirts, and they have piercings and tattoos. He goes, I've never seen anything like it. And I said, I have. I go, I've been there. Used to go to the underground, the bank over in Philly. I mean, I used to go to, you know, slam dancing and mosh pitting. Like, I did all of that stuff. So I knew exactly what he was talking about. Glenn had no clue. Glenn's like, I listen to Barry Manilow. I don't know what you're talking about. So he goes, not that I want you guys to go extreme and, you know, get tattoos and get piercings and, you know, wear dresses and stuff like that. He goes, I'm just trying to give you the idea of what I'm thinking. He said, because with your attitudes and your look and being from the Northeast, he goes, I just think it would be a good fit. It'd be a good idea. So we're like, okay. So we showed up to Smoky Mountain TV. We knew nothing other than our names were going to be the Headbangers. We didn't know Mosh. We didn't know Thrasher. We didn't know any of that. And so we show up in shorts, and Cornette pulls out shirts. So he gave me the Slayer shirt. He gives Glenn a Metallica shirt, and he goes, here, now go to the ring. And when you're done in the ring, you're going to go over to Les Thatcher, and you're going to do an interview. And we're like, all right, what's the interview about? He goes, just introduce yourselves. I don't know, do whatever you want. We're like, okay. So he's telling us like he wants us spitting on people and all this stuff. So literally the very first match of Smoky Mountain, I walk out and I'm walking up to everyone in the front row and I'm spitting on everyone. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is fucking awesome. I'm not only am I here, now I'm allowed to, I'm being told by my boss to spit on people. I'm like, this is the best. So we do the match and then we go over to Les Thatcher and he's like, all right, I'm here with the Headbangers and your name is, and I'm like, I don't know. And Glenn's like, what's your name? Like, I don't know. What's your name? I don't know. We don't know what our names are. Like, we legit had no idea what our names were or anything. It all kind of slowly from there, it kind of evolved into what it was. And how the skirts came along was PG-13 was huge down in Tennessee. I mean, they were huge in Memphis. They had, you know, been over in Smoky Mountain a little bit. But PG-13 wore sneakers or boots, shorts, and some kind of T-shirt. So that's exactly what Glenn and I look like. I was wearing work boots. He was wearing high top sneakers. So we were kind of walking around a thrift store trying to figure out something to wear. And I just went down the aisle, the women's aisle. I was kind of scrolling through. I found a skirt. I put it on right there in the store. And I walked around to Glenn and I just stood there and he goes, no, because I'm not doing it. And I go, yes, we're doing it. I go, it's different. It's going to set us apart. This is what we need. So I said, just buy one. We'll wear it tonight at the show and we'll see what happens. If it gets shit on, then we just don't do it. So what are we wasting? $5? Go buy a skirt. So we went and bought the skirts. We're in the locker room. Everyone's busting their balls. We're like, what the fuck are you guys doing? We're like, we don't know. I mean, we got Tracy Smothers, Dirty White Boy. You got the Heavenly Bodies. You got Ricky and Robert. They're all in there. Tommy Rich, like, you guys are fucking stupid. Like, what are you doing? We're like, we don't know. We're trying it out. We got so much heat from the crowd. Here come two guys with face, and we had hair back then, so we weren't shaving our heads yet. So here come two guys with hair and face paint on and skirts, and we're spitting on people, we're cussing people out and all this stuff. The heat we got was unbelievable. We walked into the back. Cornette said, "Where did you buy the skirts?" I'm like, "Thrift store." He handed us each $20. He goes, "Go tomorrow and buy more skirts. You now wear skirts." That's how the skirt started.
Oh, nice.
That's a great story.
That is a good story.
And Jim Cornette at a Danzig concert. I would have never thought that.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy right there.
Chaperoning somebody? Because I couldn't even find those tickets.
He had a friend of his who knew somebody or that knew someone or knew him, and that's how he ended up there.
Okay.
But look, I'm very thankful he went, because without that, the Headbangers may have never happened.
Yeah, that's crazy. Everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
We talked about real quickly Beaver Cleavage. Now, you're 1-0, undefeated Beaver Cleavage.
Undefeated.
When they came up to you and said, "You're going to be Beaver Cleavage now, and you're going to have, your valet is going to play your mom, and there's going to be an incestual storyline," what was going through? Was the reaction? Because we've talked to when we talked to PN News, we was like, if I'm getting paid, I'll do whatever. In your head, where you're like, this is really stupid, or you're like, all right, I'm game. Like, let's just try to make it work.
I was totally, I'm getting paid, whatever you want me to do. Right. And at this point, Glenn was hurt. That's when he blew his knee out. So I was sitting home. So they came up with these two ideas, and he was supposed to come back as an evil doink. They wanted him to grow his hair out, which would have been funny because he has like 6 pieces of hair on his head. So it would have been hysterical. But no, my thought was, I never really wrestled singles other than enhancement matches. And I literally had 3 matches before Glenn and I started tagging down at the Monster Factory. So my thought was, they're investing money in this. They had us do all of the, they laid out the vignettes, what they wanted to do. They brought a girl in, and I'm like, this is an opportunity for me to shine on my own, for me to do something on my own. So I was excited about it. I'm like, this is going to be great. After doing the vignettes and then watching the vignettes, and then when I had that first match with Christian and I watched it back, and I'm like, I'm just acting like a big kid, a big goofball. That's easy to do because I'm laughing the whole time. That was always the good part about the mask. When Glenn and I wrestled as the Spiders, I was still always laughing in the ring, but the mask hit it. The Headbangers thing coming out of laughing, I'm still laughing. That's just who I am, and that's how I came out. So I was like, this is just going to be perfect. And then I kind of thought about it. I'm like, if I can take this and get it over, it could segue into something else, evolve into something else. They kind of got an idea for Glenn. This is an opportunity for me to do me. The only regret I had with the whole thing was after they killed it off and they just had me being Chaz, this kid from New Jersey, is the girl they had me with, I didn't like her. Personality-wise, she was kind of diva-ish. I told her from the start, don't hang out with the boys. Don't go out with the boys, because that ruins your name in the locker room. Mm-hmm. She's not around anymore, so I don't want to talk bad about her, but she didn't listen to me. And within a day, it was all around the locker room that, she's easy, she's this, she's that. And it kills you off. Yeah. So I was pissed. So looking back, that's probably the one thing I would have done different is I didn't realize then that any guy that had a valet or had a girl with them were getting pushed. They were getting pushed. I should have just sucked it up and been like, no big deal. This is business. I don't need to go out with her afterwards. And if she wants to be whatever she wants to be on her own time, that's up to her. But when we're here, we got to get along. We got to make this work. Because I think things could have been differently, could have gone differently for me if I would have done that, because it would still give me an opportunity to wrestle on my own. But yeah, I was actually excited about the idea. And they're like, yeah, your head's going to be buried in her tits all the time. And you're going to be doing this. I'm like, sure. I'm like, I'm in. Whatever
I
you
guess
want
you
me to
can't
do. This is
complain
going to be
about
good.
that.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
you can't. And she wasn't that bad on the eyes, so it wasn't that
Right.
bad. Just personality was awful.
I mean, it's gotta be so different when you're working with Glenn, who you said you clicked immediately, and then you work with her, and it's the complete opposite, environment. It's gotta be like fucking
And
with your
then
head. Went from
that was weird. And the other part that was weird for me is I always had Glenn. He was always with me, so I always had someone to travel with, someone to hang out with in the locker room. Back then, personality wise, for me, I was very introverted. I wasn't a big small talker. I wasn't a big conversationalist. So I didn't make friends easy because I was guarded and I was like insecure. Inside, I was insecure. So I kind of kept to myself in the locker room because I didn't have him. He's always been the one who wants the center of attention. He likes the center of attention. I always kind of, it's funny I say this, being that I'm, in the ring in front of people, I always kind of shied away from the spotlight and I always let Glenn kind of take the lead, and I followed him. At that point, with him not around, I felt kind of lost at the same time of not knowing really what to do and where to go and what I should say and stuff like that. So it was just different, but I was excited about the opportunity to be able to do something on my own for once.
And you went from that character, and it kind of, you said you wanted to see how it could evolve. And it evolves somewhat into the Chaz character. Your valet, I forget her name, Miss Cleavage was, your
Mariana.
mother's name.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they come up with this domestic abuse storyline, which obviously is a horrible thing. And they're, throwing all these claims out that you're beating her in the back. Yet in the ring, Jeff Jarrett is actually hitting women with guitars.
and beating up Mae Young and Fabulous Moolah.
Yeah, and hitting China and everyone with all these females with guitars. And there's a storyline where you're getting the shit kicked out of you and refs are throwing matches for you because she allegedly was hit by you.
Right.
How did they approach you with that? And how did they ever even justify, like, you're going to get accused of this, but Jeff Jarrett's going to actually do it?
In front of tens of thousands of people, witnesses.
That's a mistake right there we make with wrestling. Don't try to make sense of it. If you try to make sense of it, you're fucked. Don't. Just go with it. Yeah, so they came to me with the whole idea of us splitting up and the whole me beating her up storyline. At that point, that was when I was like, so you're getting me away from her? I'm like, I'm all in, whatever you want. I don't care. And then the idea was to bring Glenn back like they did to reveal that she was really full of shit and then have us come back. Again, looking back, I should have embraced her because bringing Glenn back and having a girl with us would have put us in a different realm. You had the Hardys with Lita and, you had other women being used with tag teams and stuff like that. But yeah, so basically the whole storyline was just to bring Glenn back in, to bring Glenn back into the mix.
I guess we did look too deep into that, Vinny, when we
can't.
I mean,
don't.
Yeah.
Professional wrestling, it doesn't make sense. Don't even try to have it make sense.
I actually forget what pay-per-view that was, where it was Jeff Jarrett versus China for the belt, and Mae Young and Moolah came out and attacked him, and then he beat him up. It was the same thing we were talking about, and we were sitting there laughing about it. We're like, dude, he's really just kicking the shit out of 3 women right now, and no one's saying a damn word about it.
And
Well,
yet they're
Chaz into the back, and he didn't do shit.
yeah.
Oh man. Let me see where I'm at. Did you ever get a call from WCW during the Monday Night Wars? And if you did, would you have gone if it meant breaking up the tag team?
So the one time our contracts were expiring, there were going to be, so when Glenn blew his knee out, we were right at the end of our first full-time contract, and we were kind of worried. And, we're like, okay, we're not going to be used. We're not going to be around because, he had to have reconstructive done. It was going to be a good 6 months for him to come back. So we got approached, and we were like, well, Glenn's kind of hurt now. And so that kind of got sidelined. But then at the same time, Bruce Pritchard came to us and he goes, look, guys, we know the next couple of months, your contract's coming up. We want you guys to have no worries, don't worry about anything. They gave us a new deal with a guarantee. So at that point, it was like, yeah, okay, we're good. So we're not worrying about it. Thanks, guys, but we're staying. We never really. I know Glenn went there a couple of times and did some enhancement matches with WCW back in the day before I was even around. But we never really had a big interest, only because we felt kind of loyal. WWF always used us for enhancement matches, which was, especially when before we were there and we were, just on the road in Memphis and trying to make $100 here, $50 there, $10 here. Those, whenever they would book us and, we'd get $500, so, that got us through, another month or so on the road. So we always, I guess, felt kind of loyal to Vince. So we never really dabbled much in anything with them.
You were like, and to play off of Vinny's question, you were there in the whole Monday Night Wars thing. Like that's the time of your popularity. That was the thick of it. What was the feeling in the locker room? I know other people have talked about it, but like from your perspective, did you guys ever have like a TV in the back with WCW on, kind of seeing what the competition was doing?
They did, but I never really. It was more in the Gorilla area. They would have it going. We always watched it because that's when it always replayed. So we always got to the hotel and we'd watch it back to see what they did. The mood in the locker room was more. It was more of a family. Trying to think of the right way to describe it. We all got along. We all knew our role. We all knew the job was to get Stone Cold over, to make him bigger than life, even more than he already was. It's Shawn to get DX over at that point. So we all got along. We all knew our role. It was like a big family, and all we wanted to do was beat WCW. That was the goal. Everyone got to. I mean, we had meetings without even Vince. I'll never forget. Undertaker pulls us in. Everyone gets together. They're like, guys, are you saying this? Like, this is ridiculous. Let's like all come together and figure out a way. So we all knew our role. We all were working together to beat WCW. That was the entire goal. That was the only purpose, the only reason we were there. That's what it was built around.
And you're in one of the most iconic pictures from the Attitude Era. It's the one they show the ring from the aisle, and it's all the superstars lined up, and you and Glenn are right in that. And that to me is like, that's iconic, that picture of the Attitude Era right there.
Yeah, that was awesome. We got lucky.
When you're approached and told that you guys are going to be the WWF Tag Team Champions, what was that feeling, that with the thought process that's going through your head, be like, wow, I reached like the mountaintop, or this is everything that I wanted to achieve? Or was it just business as usual? Because I know in other promotions you guys were tag champs as well.
Yeah, so here's another great story. So everything ties back to Cornette. So Cornette came up the headbanger gimmick. Cornette got us, he went to Vince for us and basically got us our first. I know we earned the contract, but he's the one, got our foot in the door to got us the contract. So we were in the Louisville Garden, and we weren't even supposed to be on that match, Ground Zero, in September of '97, because it was Stone Cold and Dude Love were tag champs, and that's when Owen gave Stone Cold the pile driver and broke Steve's neck. So Steve was out. Mm-hmm. So we found out, I don't know, maybe the Raw before the pay-per-view, that we were taking their spots. So Glenn and I were like, cool, another pay-per-view. This is awesome. Zero expectations. We're like, it's a four-way. It's kind of like the expectations going into WrestleMania 13 with the four-way. Hey, it's our first pay-per-view. It's WrestleMania. We're going to get eliminated first. It doesn't matter. It's a pay-per-view. It's WrestleMania. This is the greatest thing ever. Same thought with that. So we're in the Louisville Garden. It's during the day. Cornette comes up to us. He's like, boys, take a walk with me. We're like, okay. So we walk. We're walking down the steps, into the parking garage, all the way to the back area of a parking garage. And we're like, what the hell is going on? Why are we down here? And he goes, well, I got something I got to tell you guys, and I wanted to tell you down here, and I wanted to be the one to tell you. We're like, okay. He goes, you guys are winning the belts tonight. And we went, cool. And he goes, listen, I know how both you guys are. That's why I brought you down here. No one's around. And that was it. The three of us started jumping up and down, going, we're getting the belts. We're getting the belts. We're getting the belts. And then it was funny. So we go, now the rest of the day I'm hiding because now I'm smiling the whole time. And all day I'm walking around with like goosebumps, and I got to stay away from everybody because just because of how we act. Because everything's real. Everything's written on my forehead. I'm fully transparent with my emotions are written on my forehead. So we have the meeting with Jack Lanza, and we're all in the meeting, and they say it's going to be boiled down to us and Owen and Davey Boy. Stone Cold's going to come down. They're laying it all out. Now I'm sitting like this because literally I'm smiling, and I'm sitting like this. So they go through the whole finish, and we're like, all right, cool. Yep, that sounds great. Everyone gets up to leave, and then finally Owen turns around. He looks at us. He goes, "You guys can smile." He goes, "This is fucking awesome." So we were like, "Yay!" And then everyone it was great because we were close with Owen, we were close with the Godwins, we got close with LOD. So it was like all of us together in that room. They were all like, "This is great for you guys. We're so happy." But so it was a great thing. It was awesome.
That's cool.
So, of all the teams you wrestled in WWE, because being the champions, you obviously wrestled on the road. I don't like to ask who your favorite opponent was, because that's a generic question. Everybody's going to say this one or that one. I like to ask everybody we talk to, who's the one you hated wrestling against? What team or what wrestler individual did you hate wrestling against?
Doug and Phil.
Doug and Phil?
Doug Furnace and Phil LaFont when they came in. They were there for like 6 months, right around had to be 96. It was right around. They were in the 4-way tag of WrestleMania 13 with us.
I think I do remember those guys.
They came from Japan. They were stiff. And when I mean stiff, I don't just mean working. I don't mean hitting us hard. They were just stiff. They didn't move. They had zero personality. It was hard to tell a storyline with them. Great guys, love them to death. Just in the ring with them was difficult. They were difficult in the ring.
Now, if you could wrestle any tag team that you hadn't wrestled in that era, which I don't know if there was a lot that you didn't, who would you want to wrestle? Even if it's somebody that's still around. There? What'd you say?
In our era when we were there, or just in the history of wrestling?
From your era to today, because there's still some teams that are still around, the Hardy Boys, guys like that. So is there anybody that you're just like, oh, if we could just get a shot at those guys? Even WCW, guys in WCW that you were like, oh man, if we like Harlem Heat or something.
I was just going to say, probably Harlem Heat. That's the first one that pops out at me. Harlem Heat would have been fun, I think, to work with. I think we could have had good matches with them. Yeah, we wrestled the Hardys. We wrestled the Hardys in Smoky Mountain. The Hardys did jobs for us in Smoky Mountain. Yeah, probably Harlem Heat's the first team that jumps out at me.
Yeah, me and Vinny have talked about this before. That's a tag team that I wish I would have been more into when I was watching them growing up.
Right.
Yeah. You're talking about before how you're always laughing. Everything's on your face. I've heard from other wrestlers when you're wrestling, there's a lot of shit talking. We're trying to make the guy bust out laughing. How true is that? And how involved are you giving it back, trying to make the other guy crack up? I've seen sometimes where I'm watching wrestler and you just see, leaning in and the guy wants to fucking lose it.
Oh yeah, it was easy. We'd get in there with Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, and Billy hates being tweaked or pinched or whatever. So we're in the ring with him and just jamming a thumb up his ass when you got him. You're in a headlock, you just reach out and grab his nipple, and he's like, "Motherfucker, you better knock it off." He's like, "I'm gonna fucking punch you," and I'm like, "All right, stop, easy, Billy. Relax, it's okay." And then he just tweaked the other nipple again. Oh yeah, that goes on all the time. We're actually doing an angle down here in Florida, in Melbourne, with a company called Atomic Revolutionary Wrestling, and the angles with the Ascension, with Connor and Vic, and they're actually calling themselves the Awakening now. But we did a promo afterwards, and it was hysterical because Ryan, the entire time I'm cutting the promo and I'm just making fun of everyone around us, he was trying so hard not to laugh. And at one point, somebody called me a pussy in the crowd, and I turned around and I go, I was told my whole life, you are what you eat, which is why you look like a big fucking dick. And Connor just stopped. He goes, all right, I had enough. He goes, I got to laugh. He goes, that's funny shit. Like, but yeah, we tried it. We do it all the time. And Glenn and I are the worst because we can get away with our characters of laughing and goofing around and being that way. So we'll go to lock up with somebody and it's just a double titty twister right off the bat. It doesn't matter. We just don't get, yeah. So the goal is to try to make everyone laugh. We do it all the time. And it's easy for us to get away with it.
That's awesome. I love that story. Now, in 2016, they bring you back to SmackDown. Did you not, was that supposed to be a long-term deal? Because I know you guys did that post-match interview where you told the woman to go in the back and find out when you're going to be seen again.
Right.
And actually, Glenn kind of loses his character for a second because he's like upset. And then he goes, it's just, I don't even know. And he walks off for a second and comes back. Did you think that was going to be a long-term deal, or did they kind of tell you it's like a 1 or 2 off?
No, we had no idea. So how that actually happened was, so my son he'll be 17 in like 2 weeks. So he never saw me in that element, obviously, because I wasn't with WWF when he was born. But he's seen me do, I say thousands, I don't know, maybe hundreds of indie shows, to the point where Glenn and I have been in the ring and I've looked over and he's sound asleep on a table. And I'm like, am I that boring that my own kid's over there sleeping? So what I started doing was whenever WWE was in town down here in South Florida, I would reach out to Hunter and I would ask him, is there any possible way to put me on the show? I don't care. Like, I don't want to get paid. I'll sign a waiver, whatever. I just want to do one match so my kid can see me in a WWE ring. Every single time Hunter said no. He's like, can't do it. Sorry, Chaz. Can't do it. Can't do it. So then seeing Road Dogg on the road, I always, because I know him and Hunter were close, I'd be like, can you just talk to Hunter? Just one match, Brian. That's all I want. So when Brian was up there and he was an agent, he all of a sudden I got a phone call. I got a text from him, and it says, are you and Glenn available to do SmackDown on Tuesday night? This was like a Thursday or Friday. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm like, that's really funny. And thanks for fucking with me. Well done. Good job. See you later. And he immediately called me and he's like, no, Chaz, I'm not kidding. He goes, we're doing this whole storyline. He goes, you and Glenn would be perfect. We want you guys to come in. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not going to say no. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, all right. He goes, we'll be in touch tomorrow. So it was a Thursday. So Friday, he calls me up and he goes, dude, he goes, I'm sorry. He goes, it's in like the casino in like Massachusetts, Foxwoods or something like that it's called. He said, in order for you to wrestle there, you have to have blood work done. You got to have a physical done. He goes, and we just won't have time to get it all done. He goes, I'm going to try and delay the storyline to bring you guys into Dallas next week. He goes, but I can't promise anything. And I went, Brian, no big deal. I appreciate the thought. If it's meant to be, it'll be, but it's not meant to be this week. No big deal. He goes, all right. He goes, I'll be in touch next week. I'm like, great. I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to hear from him. No big deal. So it was the following, all week goes. So I'm watching SmackDown and I'm like, all right, let me try to see the storyline that they had in mind. Let me see, where it goes. I couldn't figure anything out. I had no idea what he was talking about the storyline. So Wednesday comes, nothing. Thursday comes, nothing. And I'm like, all right, it's not going to happen. Again, no big deal. Friday at about 2:00, I get a call. Chaz, it's Howard Finkel. He goes, I'm calling to book you and Glenn on your travel because we need you in Dallas, Texas on Tuesday for SmackDown. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, this is really happening. He's like, yeah, I go, you're not going to call me in an hour and tell me, no, it's not happening now. He's like, I don't know. He goes, but I'm telling you right now, it's happening. Yeah, so that's how it happened. And we got there and, we did the match, which was amazing. And there was never talk of really coming back at all. We kind of thought my thought was, I did it. I'm happy. And if they call us back, great. If they don't ever call us back, great. But then we left Heath and we left Rhino both bloody. So we were like, we'll never be called back again, because we used to get, I don't want to say mad, but when they used to bring guys in and then they would hurt somebody, it was always like, fuck, this guy's here one night and now he hurt, so-and-so, like, this is great. And I'm like, and that's what we just did. Haven't been on TV in 15 years and now we just hurt 2 guys. But then 3 weeks later, they called us back. And then another 3 weeks, they called us back. And the second time I talked to Devon And Devon was like, we're looking for road agents. Do you think, you would be interested? And I said, you know what? I said, I always envisioned my career once I was there to stop wrestling around 40 and to be a road agent. And then from there to go on to like being a road agent and helping out. I said, but I got to be honest with you. I go, there's no way in hell. I said, I don't want to be on the road full time. My son plays travel soccer. I like watching his sports. I've built a career for myself down in South Florida now. I've been down there at that point. I've been down here 19 years now. So at that point, I've been down here 16 years. I've been doing the same thing for 16 years. I said, if I come here and I do a 3-year deal and then halfway through or at the end, they say, never mind, you're done. Then what? I'm going to be almost 50 starting over again. I'm like, can't do it. I said, if you guys want to, and then now you got that Legends contract, you want to throw that Legends contract out to us, I'd be more than happy to do appearances, come up every now and then whenever you need. I said, I'm all in for that. I go, but full time, I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And we haven't been called back since. So I don't know.
That was
kind of how it started.
That was the Heath Slater was calling out all the older, I don't mean to say older, the legendary personalities. Because I think DDP came out one week, and I think you guys came out the one week. I think was that the storyline that you were talking about?
No, the storyline was going for the tag belts, and the storyline was if Heath did not win, if him and Rhino didn't win the tag belts, he would be fired. If they won the tag belts, they'd give him a contract. That's when he was doing the thing.
I got kids, right?
I got kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like, I got 7 kids. They're like, what? I thought you just had 3 kids. He's like, no, I got 8 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go build me a swimming pool now when they won. I remember that.
Yeah.
When now, do you still keep in contact with, besides Glenn, a lot of the guys, or is it just kind of?
I talked to Billy a lot. I talked to Billy Gunn. I stayed in contact with him. I talked to Pete Gass a lot. I talked to D'Lo every now and then, and I talked to Devon a lot.
Okay.
So probably Billy, Devon, Pete, and then D'Lo. They're the 4 that I'm probably closest with, or I speak to, or text on a regular basis.
Do you still watch the products at all, like WWE or AEW, or are you just not really interested?
Yeah, I'm not really interested. Again, it's nothing against anybody up there, but the characters are kind of boring.
Yeah.
They're not characters. It's like and again, I don't mean this as a knock on anybody whatsoever. You just can't, back in my era, back in our day, people, like you guys said, you bought into the heavy metal side of us.
Yeah.
People bought into the characters, and that's who they buy into, and that's what they, that's why they follow. For me, it's just hard to follow the storylines. The storylines now change every other day. It's like the storylines go so fast, there's no chance for them to develop. AEW, those guys are amazing what they can do, but it's all so fast. The matches don't make sense.
Yeah.
I can follow it. I don't want to follow it because it doesn't make sense to me. So I just choose not to follow it. I'm flipping through. If I see somebody I know that's on, or somebody that I like, then like I'll watch. Like what Alexa Bliss is doing is fucking amazing. Plus she's great to look at, so it's easier to watch. But if there's somebody on there I know, like if I see Matt or Jeff on, I'll stop and I'll watch them. I'll see what they're doing. But for the most part, it's not like I'm sitting there watching. Like I probably couldn't tell you 2 matches at WrestleMania this weekend.
Now you said just now that you didn't want to do full time. You got your life and your career down in Florida, but if you tomorrow you said, "Hey Glenn, let's go back to full time. Let's go back on the road," and you had a contract from NWA, Impact, AEW, and WWE sitting in front of you, which one would you sign?
Well, it depends on who's offering me the most money. But I think what would be cool, Glenn and I've spoken about this. I think what would be fun and kind of cool to do would be the NWA, for a couple of reasons. One, the heritage behind it. And then we are former NWA tag champs. I wouldn't be opposed to any of them. AEW would be fun. They're right up the road. It's 4 hours away. But I just some of the matches they do, it's just hard to go. So I guess out of all of those, take money off the table, not consider money. I think I'd like to do the NWA. I think that would be fun.
Cool. I respect that.
Actually, Gary Michael Capetta was talking about how he liked the NWO better than all the other promotions as of right now too. When we talked to him,
Yeah, I like it. I like the studio look again. It's old school, and again, being a former NWA, you know, and watching NWA growing up, it's got that older style, that older feel to it. To me, more than the other ones do.
And I've said this in the past. I respect Billy Corgan for doing and bringing back the NWA the way he is, but I do not like Billy Corgan. Not a fan of Smashing Pumpkins. Not a,
No,
you know,
I like Smashing Pumpkins. I'm not a 1979 is a good song.
Actually, I mean, I'll give him Siamese Dream. I'll give him Siamese Dream as a good album, and Gish is a good album.
I like Melancholy Infinite Sadness is all right too.
Had its good songs, but then he kind of like musically, I'm not going to say what his persona in wrestling, because I don't know enough about the NWA, but musically, he kind of got like into this whole I'm Billy Corgan thing where, you know, and kind of wondered who he was, and everything started to sound the same, or he was trying to be way out there creative.
He's trying to
it
be a
just
little
didn't
different.
work.
Right. He wasn't being him.
Yeah. He wasn't being Siamese Dream Today or Disarm. Like that stuff is good. After that, when he gets into a door, that album, I can't deal with it.
Gets into a door.
with you actually obviously being in the Headbangers, this is a question I gotta ask. Who's your favorite band?
God, such a variety. It's such a hard question to answer. And the reason it's hard is because for me, the music, it depends on my mood.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go from Limp Bizkit to Disturbed to 20 minutes later wanting to listen to Billy Joel. I like classical music also. You know, but it all really depends on my mood. I'll go from, you know, listening to Slayer, flip over to Metallica, and then I'll put on Tom Petty. So it just for me, it just depends on my mood. It depends on how I'm feeling, or it depends on what kind of mood I'm trying to get into. Like if I'm going to the gym, then it's just all heavy metal, Guns N' Roses and stuff like that. So it's hard. It's hard to pick. I mean, I love Chili Peppers. I love Guns N' Roses. I love Billy Joel. I love Disturbed. So it's kind of, if I had to rank them, I don't think I could.
Okay, fair enough.
My first concert actually was Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Faith No More at Giant Stadium in 1992.
Really? Wow. So
Yeah,
the first album I ever bought was Appetite for Destruction. The first concert I ever went to, brace yourselves, my best friend and I took my sister to this concert over to the Spectrum, was Debbie Gibson.
Wow.
Listen, here's the kicker. My first concert ever was Pantera, White Zombie, and the Deftones. And the first three albums I bought, when I talked to Ryan about this, was Queen's Greatest Hits, the Spin Doctors, and then Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq Diesel.
But the great part about the Debbie Gibson concert was we left my sister in her seat so we could run all the way, sneak our way down to ringside just to scream at Debbie Gibson, show us your tits. So we got that. We didn't get to see her tits, but still.
She was like 15, wasn't she?
So were we.
Yeah.
I wasn't 25.
You weren't wearing flying nun outfits either, Steve.
No.
That's hysterical. You said Appetite for Destruction. I had that on cassette, and I actually wore the cassette out. I listened to it so much that the tape inside got warped. So I put it in, and the whole thing just sounded like a, you know, slowed down and all warped, and it was awful. And then the first CD I ever got was Rust in Peace.
Really? Yeah. So I taped Welcome to the Jungle on my cassette tape on my little Walkman, and it was my senior year in high school when I was wrestling. When the matches would start, I wrestled right in the middle. I was like 145, 150 pounds. So I would go sit in the back. I had all my sweats on. I had my hoodie on, and I would just over and over and over again, Welcome to the Jungle. I just had it looped over and over and over. And my buddy would come over when it was my turn. He'd come over. It was such a routine. He'd come over. He'd kick my foot. I'd get up. There was no stretching. There was no warming up. There was no nothing. I'd take the sweatpants off. I'd walk over right to the edge of the mat, take the headset off, hand it to him, take the hoodie off. He'd stand there with my headgear. I'd put the headgear on, and I went out and wrestled. That's how I started every match. There was no warm up, no nothing. It was just Welcome to the Jungle over and over and over again.
I mean, what a better song to get yourself pumped up to.
Exactly.
Just that intro alone.
Yeah, it was perfect.
So I know Vinny has a question about something that's non-wrestling. Well, I mean, we talk about music, but it's about something you're involved in right now.
Oh, yeah. Or I don't know if it was whether you're involved in right now, or I read that you were an outfielder on a professional kickball team.
I played kickball. I just played last night. I won another championship on Monday.
That's awesome. We love that. We
Yeah, how does that
kickball is
find one?
Kickball is the greatest. So a friend of mine I worked with back in 2007, he comes in on a Friday morning at work and he goes, dude, he goes, I played kickball last night. He goes, it's a real thing. It's a league. He goes, everyone's drinking. You hang out. You go to the bar. He goes, it's a big social thing. He's like, you got to play. I'm like, all right, I'm in. So there was another season starting. There's down here in Florida. The great part is because the weather is great all year round. Excuse me. Because the weather's great, we can play all the time. So there's always 2 or 3 seasons, 2 or 3 leagues going at the same time. So there was one on a Friday night. We went and we put a team together. No one had, and there was one person who played before who knew what they were doing. Halfway through the season, I started figuring it out, and I'm like, oh, there's strategy here. Like, it's not just kicking the ball. I mean, it was back then. The ball had to bounce once. You remember playing in school? If somebody put a spin on the ball, you'd be like, oh, you can't spin it. Or if it was too bouncy, he was like, whoa, you can't bounce it. It's got to just be a nice flat roll. No, this shit is one bounce coming in, hard spin, goes this way, it hits the ground and goes that way. And there's strategy behind it. So I figured it out. And this one team we lost to 3 seasons in a row in the finals. And it was like 1-0, 2-1, 1-0. Like we kept losing like that. So finally, the guys who run in the other team came up to myself and they said, hey, we're putting this team together to go to Vegas. There's a big national tournament coming up. It's coming up. It's in October. So at this point now, it's going to be in October of 2008. And they're like, we'd love to have you on the team. And I'm like, yeah, dude. I'm like, I'll play with you guys. But I'm thinking to myself, I'll play with you guys because you're good and I want to learn and I want to win. Like, there's no way in hell I'm going to Vegas to play kickball. I'm like, that's just fucking stupid. 6 months later, I was in Vegas playing kickball. And we got all the way to the national championship game and we lost the national championship game 2-0. And at that point, it was on because everyone hated our team so much because all we wanted to do was win. We weren't nice. We were dicks. People were on our sideline booing us. And I'm like, I'm standing there like this. I'm just like, come on, bring the booze on. Boo me some more. Like, this is amazing.
Did your wrestling persona kick in at any point? You start spitting on people?
No, not the spitting part, but the shit talking part definitely came out.
That's great.
And yeah, so from there, that team just evolved and evolved and evolved and kept growing. And then we went on a run from 2010, 2013-ish. We didn't lose a game. We didn't lose a tournament. We won 3 straight national championships. And those tournaments were money. You won money. Wow. So I'll never forget the first big tournament we won. It was $5,000 cash. Wow. So each national championship we won was $10,000. Oh, so shit. In those 3.5 years, we won almost $60,000.
Holy shit.
And how many people are on a team?
We usually carried between 15 or 16. And it's co-ed, so you got to have at least 4 girls.
All right.
It's 10 in the field, so it's 6 guys, 4 girls in the field. And like I said, the pitching's ridiculous. So one of our pitchers, one of our guys got hurt. One of our pitchers got hurt in a national tournament in the finals or in the national championship tournament. So he ended up pitching like 6 games, which is a lot because they're 6-inning games. So in the finals, they had a radar gun set up. So in the finals, after already pitching 5 games, he was clocked at 68 miles an hour of this ball coming out of his hand. So imagine it coming down right before home plate, spinning and hits and just takes off this way.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, I've been playing since 2007. I play in local leagues and it's a blast.
I was going to say sign us up, but I don't want to get hit with a 68-mile-an-hour.
I just won another championship Monday night down here. Another league started up last night right by my house. So I play once. Sometimes it's twice a week, depending on the leagues. My favorite, I actually just posted about this the other day. My favorite part about kickball, and I think the thing that got me into it the most, was the fact that that hour and a half or 2 hours that I'm out on the field, there's nothing else going on. I don't think about work. I don't think about anything at home, whether it's good or bad, whatever is going on. To me, there's nothing else going on other than that game. And that's what I'm focused on. And it's kind of I guess that's my escape from reality for that little bit. And it's just, to me, it's just so much fun.
Nice.
That's all. Like, it's funny that you say that, like how intense it is, because I had a friend that signed up in New Jersey a couple of years ago for a wiffle ball league.
Yeah.
And he showed up, and I remember going to one of the games with him, and he showed up, with a t-shirt and a regular yellow wiffle ball bat. And these guys are throwing 70-mile-per-hour balls at him because they're scoring the ball. There's like a 40-page rule book about what you can do in this wiffle ball tournament. And he showed up, he got eliminated in like the first round. It was 2-on-2. And he's just like, what the fuck? Like, he's standing there thinking this is going to float a ball at him.
Right.
And it's like a 70-mile-per-hour wiffle ball flying by him.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've had friends who are like, it can't be that hard. And they'll come out, and like soccer players, like, can't be that hard. I played soccer all my life. It can't be that hard. And I'll be like, Corey, just throw them one pitch. And they fall down, they swing and they miss. They're like, what the fuck just happened? And I'm like, yeah, it's not as easy as you think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Man. I love it.
Now I'm going to have to look up and see if there's any in New Jersey that we can sign up for, just so I can go see at least.
Well, if you go on YouTube and look up Meatballs Kickball, my team was called the Meatballs. If you look up Meatballs Kickball, there's plenty of games on there you'll see, and you'll see the pitching, you'll see all of it. Yeah.
Nice.
I know what I'm doing right after we're done with this. So besides kickball, obviously, what else have you been working on? What are you involved in? You got your hands in any like small leagues down there or anything?
There's a couple of independents we work with down here. But one of the things I'm working on now, my son is very, like I said, he's going to be 17. He's very business minded. He wants to do something with me. And actually, I guess you're getting an exclusive here, because I haven't actually announced it yet. I haven't even bought the name yet. I'm going to have to buy it now, though, because someone else is going to have to buy it. He wants to start an online store with me, like selling memorabilia, selling Headbanger stuff, doing different things like that. So I'm starting that with him. He's working on building the website. I got to go to GoDaddy and buy the name. I'm actually planning on doing that today. So we're creating a thing. It's going to be called, when is this going to air?
Today or tomorrow, actually,
depending
on. All right, good.
So I'll have time to buy it then before I say it. So we're actually going to call it Mosh's Closet. It's basically going to be pictures, t-shirts, action figures that I have, stuff from when I was a kid of different wrestling stuff that I did and amateur wise and stuff like that. And he wants to do this whole thing just to do a business with me, to get his feet wet on business stuff. And then we're going to start going to conventions, and he wants to run the table and, the business side of it, he's really interested in. So that's one of the things I'm working on now. So hopefully we'll get that website, I'm hoping, up and running in the next, 30 days or something.
And you've already copyrighted the name, right? It's already copyrighted. Nobody can steal it.
Nobody can steal it. No, you cannot steal it. It's already copyrighted. But yeah, so that's something I'm working on with him, which is going to be a blast, because, doing anything with your kid is the best.
Oh yeah.
And my son's awesome, and he's my BFF. We get along so well. We do everything together. He's my why. So it'll be great to do that with him.
And I appreciate you not going to his soccer game to hang out with us, because at the beginning of this, you waved goodbye to him.
Well, it was just practice.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about practice. Practice. We're not talking about a game. We're talking about practice.
You just said he was going off to soccer. I didn't know if he was going off to a game. And you're like, I got to talk to these two idiots for an hour. So
no, he's driving at the driving age is 16 down here. So he's been driving since July. So it's the greatest, because it frees me up to do other stuff, like not sit on the soccer field while he's practicing and sitting there watching my dick get smaller. But
Did besides the business, did you want to plug anything else, or where we can find you on social media?
Well, I got my thing right there. So all my social media is at Chaz Mosh, Instagram, Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Start making me look a little better. I actually put a thing in to get verified on Instagram. They're like, yeah, after 2 days, like, yeah, you don't qualify. And I'm like, and then they sent me a list of everything that makes you qualify to be verified. And I'm like, yeah, I thought I hit every single one of those points, but I guess I don't. I
just followed you on Instagram. So
okay, yeah. So at Chaz Mosh, that's all my stuff for Twitter and Instagram, LinkedIn. Do a lot of fun stuff on all that stuff. So
are you still in the ring at all, or are you kind of done with that?
Oh no, Glenn and I are still. That's how this happened.
I was going to ask you about that. What exactly did happen to the wrist?
No, it's not actually the wrist. It's the finger. So the ligament right here and the ligament in here, I tore both of those.
Ooh.
And the only thing holding it together is a ligament that comes across your knuckle.
Is that from Billy Gunn finger up the ass that you were saying about
earlier? No, that's
a
thumb. That's a thumb that goes up the ass. That's just called a cheese curl. It's like wham. It's a big cheese curl. No, I got creative. Again, I told you we've been working with the Ascension up in Melbourne for ARW. And I got Vic on the top rope, and I'm like, let's do it. Frankensteiner off the top rope. And when I came down, I just jammed my finger. So I waited 2 or 3 weeks to go to the doctor because I'm like, eventually the swelling and pain will go away. And it actually never did. So, yeah, I actually get this cast off next week. So hopefully that'll be it because it's literally falling apart. I don't know how well you can see it. There's chunks missing and it's falling apart because I don't rest. I'm still playing kickball. I'm still doing everything that I normally would do. So yeah. So we're still wrestling. We do local stuff here. We got some away stuff coming up. I think actually between April 17th, I don't think I have a weekend off until the middle of May. I think it's like 4 or 5 weeks in a row. Glenn and I have shows, and there's a lot of stuff. We probably could be booked almost every weekend, but I'm too old to do that now. We wrestled a couple weeks ago, like 2 nights in a row, and I'm like, why did we agree to do that?
Well, if you ever get up to Jersey to do a match, just hit us up, let us know, because we'll definitely get a ticket and come see you.
Yeah, no, I still come up there. And when I go up there, I try to hook up with the Monster Factory with Danny and try to get booked on the show because it's always fun to go back there because, he's done incredible things with the school, with what he's done in Paulsboro with it. And it's always good for us to go back. I enjoy going there and hanging out with the students, and it's a good time.
Well, if you're in Jersey, hit us up too, because we'll go out and grab buy you a beer or something.
Okay, sounds good.
Chaz, this has been awesome. I can't believe that we just had you on here, man. This is an honor.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Stop. You say that to all your guests.
But we were in the Attitude Era. That's what got I was always
we grew up in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, this was our 16 to 19-year-old self watching you guys, and both of us would go there. He's got a Marilyn Manson shirt on. He's got a Nine Inch Nails shirt on. Like, I got that shirt. Like, I know these guys.
We used to get so many shirts sent to us, we couldn't wear them all. Like, bands started. We had like the Morbid Angel. The Morbid Angel shirts were some of my favorites.
I love Morbid Angel. I'm actually a Morbid Angel fan.
Yeah, they were good. And what I really liked about them, they sent us the long sleeves, so I was able to cut the sleeves so they were kind of, they were still long sleeve, but with the holes in them. I guess holes is what they would be called if you cut it, right? I'm not even one chugging the Jack Daniels. I'm getting all flustered because you're sitting there chugging the Jack.
That's what I always do. That's just my shtick. This is like my 3rd bottle this week.
Nice.
I opened this 2 days ago.
I had kickball last night, so I had a couple drinks, so I'm good tonight.
Yeah, I saw you drinking the water. So I was like kind of hesitant to drink the Jack at all because I'm like, maybe he doesn't drink.
No, I drank. I got to drink the water because so 3 years ago, I had thyroid cancer. So they took out my thyroid and 121 lymph nodes. So I take Synthroid now every day, and the Synthroid it dries my mouth out. So I'm constantly drinking water, and I'm constantly peeing all day. It's a good time.
I'm laughing at the peeing all day, nothing else.
That's all good.
But Jazz, seriously, thank you very much. And please check us out on Twitter at Front Face Lock, Instagram and Facebook at Front Face Lock Podcast. Vinny, you are at
Vin Front Face LOK, not finger cuffs.
Somebody said he should be finger cuffs.
Finger cuffs.
We are on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. This has been awesome, Chaz. Love to have you back on. Maybe talk about I mean, you don't really watch WrestleMania, but maybe if you get into it and you want to talk some stuff going on in wrestling today, I'd love to have you back.
I figure, being that I'm going to be over in Tampa for Wrestle Stock this weekend, Friday and Saturday, I should probably try to get some clue of what's going on with WWE, so I can, if a fan actually wants to talk about it, I can kind of.
You're not missing much.
No, not at all.
No.
No.
And I'm a diehard WWE fan. You're not missing much. Shane McMahon's involved for no reason. That they made a good one-on-one match, a triple threat match. Same old stuff.
All right, I'm educated then.
That's all you need to know.
Shane's going to do something crazy. That's all we got. That's all we have.
He's going to take a big bump, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Recycle the same thing for the last 20 years.
Exactly. Hey, whatever works for him.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks again. We appreciate having you.
No problem. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. It was fun.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a good night, guys.
Thanks. You too.